The root of all the work that I do is storytelling. That's always been my passion. I've always wanted to be able to tell nuanced, contemporary African/Zimbabwean stories from an alternative perspective to sort of broaden the conversation. I leaned towards fashion and I leaned towards textile design because ultimately these were mediums of communication for me, visual mediums of communication. I started in fashion design, and initially I thought all I wanted to do was to make beautiful clothes, to dress people, have a runway, experience an opportunity. Then as time progressed, it sort of felt meaningless. I took a pause and I realized, what do I really want to do with fashion? What do I want to contribute through fashion? And I realized that for me, clothing is a story. Clothing speaks about who we are as a people in the present. It speaks about where we even come from and where we're going to go. And so I really pressed into using fashion as a medium to communicate these different sort of stories, my own experience, shared experiences that I've even inherited from my family members, from whoever, even my society. That's what I do through design. And so it almost feels like fate or a gradual evolution into textile design, textile manipulation, and all of it in a sense is rooted in intuitive practices where I intuitively lean into my design to express the things that I'm absorbing within my environment, and I translate it through these mediums, which are fashion design and textile. So the name Haus of Stone came from Zimbabwe, which means Zimbabwe. And I think when I started Haus of Stone, honestly, I just wanted to create a brand that reflected where I came from. I wanted to represent Zimbabwe, and I wanted to represent it in a positive light through fashion. So I think maybe it's like my proudly Zimbabwean self that leans towards calling it Haus of Stone. Obviously, I played with the spelling of it, spelling house Haus. And honestly, that was purely inspired by my mother, who never spelt names the way they were meant to be spelt. So I kind of took that and then spelt it Haus, only to later find out that house actually means house in German, Afrikaans. So it was sort of just intuitive and global, and that's who I am. So I think nowadays I begin to trust my intuition when it comes to things and just lean into who I am. And ultimately, later on in life, I always find out that it made perfect sense. Yeah. I always tell people that sustainability found me. I'm a designer that's based in Zimbabwe, and the socio-economical climate there isn't always the best. And I think I now had to lean into my resourcefulness. As a Zimbabwean person growing up in Zim, my grandmother was resourceful, my mother was resourceful. It didn't really matter where they even came from a privileged background. It was just a way of being for us. Upcycling, recycling, it was just what we do. It was like, how do we make the most out of a little? So I almost feel like that's intrinsic. It's in my blood, it's in my culture. And when I started my fashion brand, I had no idea that fashion could be so costly. And the thing is, this was my passion. This was the only thing that I knew how to do, but I had limited resources. So I had to think of solutions of how can I keep my business going? And ultimately that sort of led me to look for alternative ways to sustain my business. And strangely enough, the practices I started to engage with were considered sustainable. So I almost feel like, yeah, sustainability found me, but at the same time, it's intrinsic. It's a way of being as a Zimbabwean person. So my background in fashion design has really influenced my work in styling and film greatly. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a storyteller. So being able to now take that storytelling ability that I use through clothing and bring it to music videos, it's about understanding the client, the mood, the energy, and the story that they want to utilize, the color palettes that they want to use, the materials that they want to use in order to narrate this visual narrative. So what I think is amazing is that I've been able to take the skill set that I've gained through my fashion design practice and then extend it now into the styling and costume design realm, where it just expands the conversation ultimately, and it stretches my thinking, and it helps me to step beyond the bounds of Haus of Stone, which is exciting for me because at times I can sort of feel limited in terms of my creative expression in Haus of Stone, but then being able to take that and then help other people to tell their stories is something that I'm really passionate about and I absolutely love. So what excites me about House of Stone is actually the unexpected, because that's literally been the journey of House of Stone. It has been the unexpected. It has been a gradual evolution. As I mentioned, I started just designing. Now I'm in textile design. I'm a textile artist. And I ended up in styling, and I ended up in like film and television, like doing costumes or set design. So I feel like House of Stone is open to anything and everything. And even now, like I'm looking more into AI and seeing how I can implement that into House of Stone. So it's almost like anything can happen with House of Stone. I'm ready for the unexpected. I'm ready for growth. I'm ready for evolution. And I think that's been the exciting thing about having my own brand, is in a sense being able to dictate the path that it takes, being able to take things that inspire me and then translate it into House of Stone and make it evolve into something that is transcendent and that hopefully impacts people on a deeper level than it just being about clothes, but plays a part of cultural preservation, a part of our Zimbabwean and African narrative, and it helps to expand that conversation about who we are as Africans on the globe, but doing it through clothing. So I just pray that that experience and that journey of mine just continues to go as it's going, and it seems to be going upwards and forwards. So yeah, I'm excited about the unexpected, but I think it's going to be grand. Hi, I am Danayi Madondo. I am the creative director and founder of an independent fashion brand called Haus of Stone from Harare, Zimbabwe. We are a conscious brand, a slow fashion brand, and we love to utilize fashion as a medium to tell contemporary, nuanced African stories.